The batter post comes up against the plumb post, and that makes your head frame like this. This is called the back side of the head frame. The one facing the engine room is the back side. Okay, this first section is 40 feet. The next section is 20, 20, and then 20. So you got 40, 20 is 60, 20 is 80. It's 99 feet to that platform up there. The cap sits at least 3 to 4 to 5 feet above the top of the wheels. And this one here, they needed that because with the short distance, like I told you before, one time we come out in the morning to go over to the dry over there to Rizzo, and there was the deck was up on the wheel, and the skip was hanging straight out looking downtown. It got pulled into the wheel, so then we had to go get the, what do you call it, set up the tugger here, run the rope all the way up, put it on the bottom of the skip and pull it back down again, then bring down the cage. And the blacksmiths and the boiler makers that come over, they check the cage all over. Usually they take the deck right off, pull it right out here in the yard, take the top deck off, check all the skips, see everything's okay, but usually the deck was the top, the bonnets were flattened right out from going on top of the wheel. You had to check that wheel to make sure there were no cracks or nothing in that wheel, because what happened, from what I understand, you were going so fast at the speed when the safety's kicked out here, it still slid right up over the top. But it did not do any damage to the wheel on the one that time when we fixed that one. But the thing is, safety. You couldn't believe you had a, you got, say you got 4 decks of men, 6 to a deck, 24 men going down, 28 coming up. That wheel breaks. The next thing is what had happened at the Belmont, at the Belmont, but it pulled the drawhead right out of the cage. 4 guys went to the bottom, got killed on that. But the thing is, safety was a big factor, boy. I mean, you had, and you know, you take the 2 men that took care of these cables, and you take Watson and took care of the ship wheels and the fans. They had a tremendous responsibility. You know, it was up to them 2 Ropement to say, you shut this mine down, you shut it down today, because we're going to change that cable. They got an argument one time from one of the foremen of the mine because he was behind in his tally, and he said no. They had the authority, they just called downtown and they shut it down. Because it was their opinion that that cable needed cut. The mine supervisor, I don't think he had too much knowledge about the cables on how the tar was. The con was the worst of all. The cable would get red at the con from the copper water. Now when they put that clevis back onto the drawhead, they took fan bag and wrapped that all around, fan bag, all around that, up to about 6 feet or 7 up on the cable itself. Lashed it all down with rope, then tarred the heck out of that too, to keep the water from going into the big shackle that went into the drawhead on the cage. But safety, I mean, you can't, it was their responsibility to say, we cut it today. And after you had so many cuts where you lost, another thing too, when this cable was down the bottom of the mine, this cage with this cable, there was always almost a full wrap all the way across the cable. That's a safety. Plus these brakes here, they were the safety. All right, after you cut 50 and 50 and 50 and 50, and it's all tallied in the book, you're losing, in 2 cuts, you lost 100 feet off this cable. So what they did, they had it all. So many cuts, change the cable. The Kelley was an automatic. 1,000,000 tons, off goes the cable. That's all. And there was no copper water in the Kelley. They were just hoisting rock from most of the other mines in it. But the thing is, I think we worked at the Kelley for almost 2 years. We just changed clothes there and everything else, just showered there. Instead of coming back here to the original, we were there in the morning. And
but why did you feel it was better to be an iron worker and a rope man as well as just a rope man?
Oh, I don't know. It wasn't nothing better, but it was the fact that you were not afraid of height. It was just the thing. There were some guys that could not go in the air. There just was no. We had a few guys that were the greatest guys in the mine you ever wanted to see, but you couldn't get them 1 foot off the ground.
But they'd work over an 800-foot shaft, but they would.
I'd never even throw a lagged across over the 4,800-foot shaft. Throw a lagged across and walk across it, but they wouldn't put their foot on the first step of one of them gallows frames.
That's funny.
And you know, and that's why a lot of the guys that were permanent on the rope on the mine crews. That was the fact that most of them. But nobody was immune to going down the mine. They had the coolers in the mine, brought that cold air down the mine for the miners, you know. You put your 3 months down the Mountain Con mine. It didn't make no difference who you were, what job you had before. When your turn came up, you went to the Mountain Con mine. Bear says, go to the con when 3 months are up, give me a call. Me and Bugs, the big fellow on here. We were partners on the 40 of the con going towards the Ryan shaft. 3 months are up, they staggered you so that, you know, there'd always be, I was there, and then I had a partner by the name of Harris, Bobby Harris, who got killed. Settling tank blew up in his garage and killed him. Him and I were partners. Well, when he got killed, they brought Bugs over. I would already had 2 months in, so they brought Bugs over, and then when my time was up, I left. Bugs was there, and then they brought Lefty Rundle over. Him and they were brother-in-laws. Lefty Rundle was married to Bugs' sister, but they were partners. Had two pump shaft, 2 pumpmen, John Kennedy and Ginger Cumba. Then we had a boilermaker and a boss. We had a boilermaker out of the shop, and then we had a boss by the name of what the heck? His kid's a fireman.
And what was this, a composite crew you had?
Yeah.
Well, now, can you go back now and now the Kelley Headframe came from the Leonard. I want to make sure we got this. Came from the Leonard, and when it was on the Leonard, it was there kind of in a temporary status.
Yeah.
And they left the old wooden headframe.
No, steel.
Well, but there was a wooden headframe.
No, steel.
Oh, it was steel.
Yeah.
Underneath the big one. Mm-hmm. And so they took the Leonard from there and put it up on the Kelley.
Right.
And they widened it to be 5 wheels. Okay.
They also, before we ever took that headframe down, we had to go down and take out one of them big braces right up in the top, because it was right in the way of the cable coming through, off of the other headframe, that was underneath it, see? So we had to take that one brace out and had a crane down there, and we had to scaffold it all up. There was Al Plate, Newt Plate, myself, and Thorsten Anderson, Walter's son, and Bert Fellows were at the watch. We had to take that big beam out of there and just leave that open space there. So the cable, now when it come time to take the gallows frame down at the Leonard, the other one was working, the cable was working right underneath us. We could never lower any iron. We could cut rivets all week. But then we go out on Sunday morning and take down what we cut. They had a crane down there, and we take down what they'd cut. We'd cut all week, was hanging there on construction bolts, connecting bolts. We'd go out on Sunday. We went out the first Sunday, we took all the top off, the wheels, the cap, the whole bit. Okay, then we went down the next section. All week long we had it all scaffolded up, and all week long we busted rivets and put in connecting bolts, and then that Sunday we went down and we took that whole next section down. I always remember next to the last section, that was the same day of the Ropement's picnic out at Bison Creek up in Elk Park. So instead of going 8 o'clock in the morning and work until we got it down, We went out then as soon as it got daylight. We were on that head frame at 5 o'clock in the morning. And we lowered all that stuff so we could make the picnic at noontime. But we took it down, and then the last section, that's the scary one. See, that's the last section. So what you do, you got everything down, all the braces are out and everything. So then you got 2 cranes there. You're going to take down the plumb post or the batter post on the front side. You got to hook onto the back side. Hook onto that leg back there. So he held that up while we got that one out, and then you're already hooked on with the crane on this one, so you just went over and busted the anchor bolts off the top. It was holding it on the cement piers, and you swung that out of the way. But then you got guy lines on the other 2 sections. We had a guy line them off, so they'd stand there. Then you took out that center brace that was holding them together this way, along the level one, the level member, and then you took that out, and then you had the cranes. One was hanging on one end, and one, you took the one in the middle down, and you had one on a guide off to hold it up there. Then you got that middle level member out, and then that crane hooked onto that one, and that one hooked onto the one that was kind of leaning in, see? And then they busted all the rivets off the top, the big anchor bolts. Had to burn all them right off the top of the piers. And
then when you took it up here to the Kelley, you just reversed the process?
Yeah.